The location is M40 southbound, Bonhill Services, static suspect vehicle. That should be a Toyota Corolla. You have information this vehicle is acting suspiciously on the forecourt area. Got 3 males with baseball caps. Appear to be making for fuel. Upon seeing the police vehicle, they've sort of changed their mind and gone towards the airlines for some reason. They are a bit furtively, we're going to sit up on them over. Can you just respond to that check, please?
Yeah, thank you. I'll run the descriptions by again. Once I've got an update, I'll come back to you.
The communications centre at headquarters runs the check, and the computer immediately alerts officers that the occupants of the vehicle are wanted by police. They are suspected of various serious crimes, including rape at gunpoint.
Hey Roger, in view of that, can you inform the firearms units, please, and are you able to give us a ring on the mobile, please?
The decision to send the armed response unit rests with the inspector of the comms centre. He has to inform the area superintendent of every stage of the operation.
We've got a firearms incident on the go at the moment. I don't mind the superintendent or chief superintendent.
For information, this vehicle has moved off. It's now heading southbound on the M40 in the direction of junction 12. For the motorway speeds, keeping back a few hundred metres away.
The chase is on. The officers who man Warwickshire's armed response unit have to undergo 2 days of intensive firearms training every 6 weeks.
I don't like to use the word elite, but it is another specialist department. What we do say is that people who have been identified to work on the armed response vehicles have to be extremely good at what they do.
During training, they prepare for every eventuality. In this scenario, 2 armed robbers are on the run. Officers have been instructed to stop the vehicle and arrest the villains.
We're going to get tugged here, mate. We're going to get tugged. Just stay where you are. We're going to get tugged. Say nothing, we know nothing about it.
Stay where you are. Oh, please, stay where you are. Put yourself on the floor. Put yourself on the floor. It'll be no problem.
Out to the car now, please.
All right, okay.
Right, on the floor.
All right, mate.
On
Okay,
the floor.
okay, okay,
on the
okay,
floor.
Okay.
Okay, just cuffing at the moment. Keep looking at me. What's your name? Just look at me. What's your name, mate?
Ian.
Ian. Just keep looking at me, Ian. That's all right. Put your hands down. Just relax. That's it. Just keep looking at me.
Warwickshire police haven't yet had to fire a gun in a real-life situation. But they get regular calls to firearms incidents, so their training must be as realistic as possible.
You're now under arrest on suspicion of armed robbery.
When you are carrying a loaded carbine, every action must be justified.
Right, safety on.
All right, gather round, please. 2 suspects fitting the description. Vehicle registration number all fitted. Got permission to pull it. You pulled it.
It can be a high intensity, high pressure job, and I think that's partly why I enjoy doing it. I enjoy going to the scene of incidents and helping sort them out, bringing them to hopefully a safe conclusion. I think I'm more than happy in this job. I think it's probably the best job in the police service at the moment.
Okay.
Nick, the other side.
Opened the door. He was just sat there. Asked him to get out. He was compliant. Got to the floor. No problems at all.
If we're covering, what state should our carbines be in? Safety catch, on or off?
Off.
Yeah, a couple of times they were on. Hey, if we're covering, make sure the safety catches are off. As soon as the threat level goes down, or you're dropping the weapon, then fine, you might want to knock the safety catch off. Good learning curve?
Yeah.
All right. Back in the vehicles then. D-kit back in the range. Okay.
Out on the roads, the motorway night shift has been called to an accident near Leamington. A man suspected of drinking and driving has crashed his car.
To what, mate?
Where's your car gone?
What of the car?
There's Maestro there, isn't there, when we pulled up?
No, there's only you here.
It's a bit confusing tonight.
Yes.
The man seems to have had 2 accidents. The first when he crashed his car, the second looks like he's been knocked down. On the other side of the carriageway, a woman has stopped to report hitting someone. Officers have come to the conclusion that the man from the car had tried to escape the scene, but in the process got himself run over.
It's dark, just making it safer for everybody, for the ambulance crew and ourselves.
Between you and me, he's got a marker for drug abuse.
Okay, right.
So just be careful with him. I don't think it'd be a problem.
Okay.
Well, he's obviously injured, isn't he? But
he's
just
not
bear
seriously injured. But,
no, just bear it. Just
what's
bear
the
it in mind.
incident down there then? Is that his mate? So
No, that's him legging it out of this,
right,
crossing over the other carriageway, getting it by a car on the other side.
So that car's just pulled it down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Thanks. We'll see you at hospital shortly. Anyway. All right.
On our arrival, we've got a vehicle on the other side of the carriageway and a vehicle on this side of the carriageway, which is the northbound. In this vehicle is somebody that has been struck by a car, but he's alleging that the driver is no longer with the vehicle, so there's some suggestion that maybe somebody else involved. We've got a possibility of somebody still outstanding from this RTC, so we've called the helicopter in purely to do a heat-seeking search of the area in case there's another body that may have been struck by a car or lorry and has crawled off into the off the carriageway.
As we were driving up to the scene, I noticed some tyre marks on the central reserve, which you can see along here. It looks like from this vehicle he's possibly lost control. The tyre marks leading to the central. He just clipped the central barrier, hit the barrier, and then swerved back across.
Oh, reflective silver.
The police didn't find anyone else to connect to the incident. The car driver was breathalyzed and tested for drugs at the hospital, but charges have yet to be made.
Mike 7, straight on in junction 9.
Back on the M40, the suspected armed gang is still on the run. The firearms unit has now been deployed.
Both the Echo cars coded level 2, making their way to search and locate. We've got the helicopter en route to try and see if we can actually locate these youths.
The armed response car will be on its way to that now. That has to be given a code by the inspector of the control room, who then has to get that authorised by senior officers, by either the ACC or the DCC.
When the phone goes, and it's a control room inspector, and I know Nick will say the same, if the other person's got the phone and the first thing they say is, "Hello, sir," there's an immediate kick of adrenaline.
Every firearms officer will have thought about the possibility that they may be put in a situation where they have to shoot someone either to protect themselves or protect their colleagues or protect any member of the public.
At the end of the day, if we have a firearms incident and we've got weapons out, and so have the suspects or the offenders, my life's in Nick's hands and vice versa.
Yeah, Mike 7, for information, this vehicle's increased in speed now. We're up to about 90 miles per hour. It's in lane 3. We're staying with it and still running back a few hundred metres for information. We're about 10 miles out of our area at the minute. There's a Thames Valley car just taken over. Because it is their area, it is their shout basically. We'll assist everywhere we can. The position at the moment is because Warwickshire have got 2 armed cars behind us making their way, they're in a position to deploy and deal with the incident. I think it's been decided that they're going to actually do a stop on this vehicle, although it's in a different force area, because they're appropriately equipped. So what we're going to do is, hopefully the next few minutes, these 2 vehicles will take up lead position and do a hard stop. The officers will be armed and will have the guns overly positioned.
The in crowd.
I find that you've just got to be...
The M6 is at a complete standstill because of a one-man protest. The man's threatening to jump and is demanding media coverage. West Midlands Police phoned Carlton Television's reporter Steve Keeling to ask for assistance.
Under the Human Rights Act, I'm entitled to that. Everybody's entitled to that.
A motorway unit is sent to rush Steve to the scene.
Our policing plan is quite specific. Public safety is and always will be our main priority. And when we're under pressure, as we often are, as everybody is in the public sector for resources and time, then we will always look after public safety as our #1 priority.
Oscar Tango 58, go ahead, over.
It has turned into a major incident. The control room on the M6 coordinates the operation. The tailbacks are already stretching some 15 miles in all directions.
It was a very difficult afternoon. I mean, the pressure was quite high. I think the biggest single issue for me personally was the danger of the man losing his life. and I had to consider all of the implications that I know would have come my way had he lost his life. He wanted publicity for what had taken place. We were able to facilitate that for him. We needed time anyway to prepare the operational elements, so we were okay with that.
You're on telly, Jason, you're on radio, you'll be in the newspapers, you've got the police to talk to, you've made your point. Come on. Come and have a chat over here.
My case is looked at by the European courts.
This was very, very unusual for us. We'd never had an incident of this kind before. And as a consequence, you have to be very fluid in your thinking, because you can't just lift a plan off the shelf that says this is what we'll do. And we had to put together an operational plan that afternoon in conjunction with the other services that we had some confidence in.
Jason, we are going, company coat on, one last time. You've made your point, we've all heard what you've said. Come on now, let's call it a day.
What I found when I got there was 3 negotiators, West Midlands police negotiators, talking to the man from the road bridge onto the gantry. I guess the distance between the two would be about 20 yards. The operational decision had to be based very much not only against the risk of the individual, but also against the risk of keeping the situation going that we'd already got. Complete closure of the motorway is dangerous. There is always the potential for the tailback situation where people come in too quickly, can't brake, and we have collisions as a consequence.
Come on, Jai, if you love me, you'll come down. It's not funny, Jai, you're causing my...
I don't think it's funny, it's just...
There's people, Jai. The kids should have been collected at 3 o'clock, the schools have all been alerted. Parents are still not getting there now.
From a public point of view, obviously everything had come to a complete standstill. Nobody could move in either direction, and we had to have a completely sterile area beneath him so that if he did fall, he didn't fall onto anybody.
Police eventually bring it to a peaceful end.
He caused frustration to millions of people, and I think he was viewed as the most unpopular man in the Midlands on the TV that night. Nevertheless, he has the same rights as everybody else, and we have a duty of care to protect him. If you have a determined individual, as if you have a determined terrorist, I guess the bottom line is that they'll be able to do it. We maintain patrols at all times. We're very vigilant, particularly in relation to the terrorist threat. In relation to an individual on foot, very, very difficult to stop. We're in consultation now with the Highways Agency about how we can make it more difficult, but I doubt if we could ever prevent it completely.
The protester was taken to Queen's Road Police Station in Aston.
Action! 3 and 6!
Back at HQ, the armed response team have loaded live ammunition. They're being judged on manoeuvrability in a roadside scenario.
As a personal qualities, you're looking at someone who is very level-headed, unflappable, who can deal with a high-pressure situation. Because at the end of the day, you are putting these people on the streets of Warwickshire armed with weapons, live ammunition, so we have to be sure that they can deal with the inherent pressures of being put in that position. Pistol, engage, good.
Before you apply to be a firearms officer, you have to consider the dangers. And it's something I have considered, and I've considered with my family as well. And I wouldn't have done this without the support of my family.
Weapons high port when you're on the move, please. Echo 1, contact.
You do get the highs in that it can be exciting. I get to drive around in a big fast car and play with guns. Ask any 10-year-old boy what they want to do when they grow up. And if they ask me what I want to do when I grow up, it fits the criteria of it is a good job.
On the roads, action of a different kind. It's getting dark and there's a stranded vehicle blocking the traffic.
We got a report of a coach which is broken down in lane 2 of a 2-lane dual carriageway. So we'd just like to get there as quick as we can before somebody runs into it. We couldn't tow it to a lay-by or to a place of safety with this Range Rover, with a bit of luck.
But luck's not on his side right now. The backed-up traffic isn't helping PC Sylvester weave his way through.
is it manual or automatic?
It's manual, step 2.
You'll be right. How are we doing? We're starting that this is a bit frayed, this is. I should have picked up a new one, really. We'll see how it goes. Just don't run into the back of me.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll stop these for you.
Yeah, if you could, mate. We'll see how it goes first. I'll pull you along here first, just to see if I think it's capable of taking it. Stop them now. Is he in there? Is he ready? Is he ready? Yeah. The vehicle just lost power in lane 2. Came to a standstill with no lights. He's got no power, so he's got no lights at all. The other car found him sitting in lane 2, so they called us up. And with the Range Rover, we were able to give him a tow onto the service. Fortunately, the services were close by. We were able to give the vehicle a tow onto the services. And he's in a safe position now, and the traffic's flowing as normal.
They may be relaxing now, but the firearms unit is about to confront its final mission. Hostages are being held at gunpoint in this warehouse just off the motorway.
On, police! If there's anybody in there, show yourself now!
From here on in, they will be accountable for their every move. PC's Nick Lyle and Pat Kearney will be judged on how they handle this extremely stressful situation.
Okay, run me through it. John, the time you made your entry, run me through it.
Right, made the entry. You can see a number of barricades in front of us.
Couldn't see any threats at that stage. The idea was for the shield people to advance forward, with myself and Nick covering from the back. We were doing a leapfrog system. We'd move forward, clear an area, make that safe, put the cover on, and then somebody from the team behind would come through and gain some more ground.
Okay.
Oh, please, anybody there? Make yourself known.
So, we get onto the doorways. What happened then?
Oh, police! If you're in the room, show yourself now!
Contact! You with the knife! Put the gun down! Put it down!
I opened the door, and immediately to my left I can see a female stood above a male, both with weapons pointing at me. Gave the verbal challenge to put the weapons down. They didn't, so I opened fire on them. Continued to challenge until they were down.
Justified?
They were both pointing firearms at me, so yes.
Okay.
Oh, police! Put it down! Police! Put it down! Put it down! Down!
Again, verbally challenged her to put the weapon down. She didn't, so I shot her as well.
How many rounds?
2 rounds. So I shot her, reassessed. She continued to point the firearm at my colleague, so I took another shot.
No longer hostile, the man
Oh,
with the
police!
knife
Put the
has
gun down!
Carry on.
I don't know whether I saw the same targets as John did earlier, but I certainly saw 2. Again, male and
What did
female.
you say?
Male and female, both with weapons.
Pointing at you?
Pointed at me.
So what did you do?
I challenged, asked them to drop the weapons. They didn't, so I shot them.
Justified?
Yes.
Put the knife down!
I could see clearly that it was a knife, so I had no justification at shooting the person there. I challenged him, asked him to put the knife down, and he put the knife down.
And he was compliant?
instructed. He was perfectly compliant.
Could you justify taking a shot?
No, not at all.
Good commands, good challenges, good cover, your tactical movement was fine, and your justification. The biggest part is justifying your actions. Remember what we say, your actions have got to be fully justifiable, and I would suggest they were.
Warwickshire police have now passed Oxford in their pursuit of the suspected armed gang.
Yeah, Mike 7, have you got a helicopter up over?
The helicopter's up at the moment, and right, Joe, so we're just monitoring that at the moment.
The Thames Valley Helicopter Support Unit is actually above us now. They might have a heli-tele facility where they can actually put live television images through to the control room. The Battenberg car is just overtaken in prime position. That's a marked Warwickshire mobile. We're waiting now for the second Warwickshire mobile to attend, and then they can do a hard stop on the target vehicle. Ourselves and the Thames Valley car will drop back some of the traffic behind to sterilise the area, keep the public out of the way as best we can. Is he going to come off here though? That's the question, isn't it? He obviously knows there's something up.
Just as the police are about to pounce on the target vehicle, it swerves off the motorway.
I had a feeling it's going to do that. It's very unfortunate that we've come off the motorway at this particular junction. We were just at a point where we could put things together. Get back!
The worst possible scenario has occurred. The armed gang have pulled into a petrol station.
Stay there. Get back!
And if that wasn't dangerous enough, the local kids have just turned out from school.
Hey, get back!
Stay back.
You're with the police, sir. You're with the police.
No.
Is this your vehicle?
Yes.
Can you move your vehicle off now then, please? 3 persons have been arrested on various suspicions of different offences in the Birmingham area. Unfortunately, they pulled into the garage forecourt. It's not the ideal place to stop and do a hard check, but if they're in such a position, there's no option. The suspect's vehicle's been searched, the offenders have been searched, they've been handcuffed and placed in different police vehicles. They'll be taken to the nearest police station, and then inquiries will continue.
A tense situation successfully contained by Warwickshire's Firearms unit. The suspects were arrested and handed over to West Midlands police for questioning.
We're going to do a runner. We spent all our money in Edinburgh. So we're short now, you know, we're all pensioners, you know. Oh, look at this. No customers, no cars, nowhere near as busy as we expected it to be. It's been extremely disappointing. We were all geared up, we had the staff, we had the stock, we were all ready to take lots and lots of money. It just hasn't happened, but never mind, there's always next year.
Justine is called to assist with a recovery at a notorious M6 black spot. Her colleagues bring her up to speed with the details.
Oh, what happened, Jack?
Rear passengers noticed that the car's been moving from side to side. He doesn't know the reason why. He then sees them going towards a barrier. He skidded off the motorway and ended up in the field.
Oh.
But talking to the driver, he's actually admitted that he may have been fiddling with the radio at the time. Right. Obviously he's been distracted.
So he's just lost control.
Just lost control.
Helen, from the ambulance crew here, can you get onto ambulance control and get another ambulance to the scene? It's perhaps a little bit more serious than first thought. The female possibly could end up with a collapsed lung. In view of that, can we have the accident investigation and can you inform Tagwetway 02? Sorted, there's one at way.
What about, you know,
Just here, Nick, Douglas fast.
Carol, Nick and the 8 horses have all arrived at the showground, stirred but not shaken.
more settled. She used to be a complete lunatic and fly at everything, but she's settling down. Love it. I love them all. I love all my horses.
That's clear round for Carol and Panama overhead.
That
was nice, round.
Much more settled.
It's just my back and my neck. Back of your neck? Back and my neck.
Are you sure you're all right?
Yeah,
I mean, you look like, you know,
The second ambulance arrives to take the two most seriously injured to hospital. The rear passengers were hitchhikers and neither was wearing a seatbelt.
what we'll do when it comes back, we'll roll your slide towards us. Slide that underneath, and we'll get back onto it.
Yeah.
So we'll pick you up on that. That's it. It's merely precautionary.
Hang on a minute. Let us do some work.
I want somebody to roll his head. 1, 2, 3. Gently up. And across. Right? Yeah. And back on 2. 1, 2, 3. All right?
Yeah.
2, 3. Right. Yeah.
Carol did well at the show, improving her chances of making it into the British Olympic Millennium team.
Well, we've not had a bad day, as long as we can get home now. Horses
Have all gone well.
Yeah.
They've done exactly what we wanted to do with them.
You're going to have many goals to do anything.
She calls Gold's owners with the results.
Good, very good. He jumped super again today. Third, Millie was fifth. They both jumped absolutely fantastic. Double clears, both of them. So we were very pleased. Okay, thank you, bye.
It's certainly not the first time we've been to an incident exactly at this location.
I came here with the fire brigade.
No police action was taken against the driver of the car.
The driver's minor injuries and his girlfriend, again, minor injuries.
Yeah.
The two hitchhikers are the worst.
Looks like they've been using the car like chitty bang bang, isn't it, at one stage? They've come flying over here, haven't they? They've been very lucky.
In spite of the serious nature of the injuries, everyone made a full recovery. Not far from home, Nick and Carol hit problems with a different kind of horsepower.
Wow, we lost power.
Not completely.
Yeah. Just gone. Run out of bloody diesel. Run out of bloody diesel. That's bloody clever, isn't it? Yeah, okay, go on in, check those, make sure the horses keep off the road, alright. Did we get this on the phone? We've run out of bloody...
Calm down, Nick.
I'm tired and it's late.
Tess, okay.
Yeah, got him. Got him.
Pete and Steve come across another hitchhiker. Or is he?
Look at that, coming a lift.
So why are you walking up the motorway?
Do you know who I am?
No.
I'm an MI5 agent who's Noel Gallagher's son.
Here?
Yeah.
Who do you know in Burnley, pal?
Oh, just a few people, like. Just a few people, like.
Do you have anything on you with your name on it?
There's nothing on me with my name on it. Don't tell me what to do a body check now.
Yeah.
Anything's new. We don't need anything.
Well, I'll tell you what, the safest place for you right now, my man, is in the back of here.
Yeah.
Whereabouts do you live in Blackpool, pal?
I live in a mental hospital.
Just jump in there.
The confused patient was safely returned to his psychiatric ward. Rescue comes for Nick and Carol. Emergency supplies of diesel. They eventually arrived home, 18 hours after starting out. Next week on Motorway Life, is it the end of the road?
You never ever cease to amaze.
A positive roadside breath test.
There is a finished carriageway. Right. Nice, smooth running surface.